Every role in Dota 2 is seriously important, having their own strengths and goals they have to accomplish on the field. This video is going to take a look at the pro player Cr1t in a high-level pub game with the often played position 4 hero Tusk. Let's see what valuable data we can get from observing Cr1t's movement and decision making. Alright, let's get into it here. So we have Cr1t, of course, playing Tusk. And he is going to be position 4 in this game. And the matchup that we're going to see is basically he is going to be with a Furion position 3. With him of Tusk, of course. And he's going to be up against a Riki 5 and a Naga Siren. Now, Riki and Tusk are both very, very popular heroes this meta. So this is hardly surprising, especially Riki. A lot of people hate Riki for a reason. He's kind of annoying. And we'll see that as we come to lane here with Cr1t, because he actually has a very smart way of playing around Riki as much as possible. Because it's very, very hard to deal with Riki in general because he's as tanky as he is, but so is Tusk. So the most important thing we're going to see here as we come to lane, because this is actually a very, very short game, we're going to focus a lot on laning stage in particular with Cr1t because he does a lot of interesting things, is that we're going to approach the 40-second mark here. And I've covered this before with some players, especially with the Cr1t video I did earlier, where support players of higher levels are very, very, very keen of getting range creep because it is a large source of experience for you and your teammate. So it's very important for it not to get denied. So what we'll see here with Cr1t is, notice his positioning here. He sees these 3 creeps for this range creep, and that's scary because he doesn't want Naga to deny that. So as we can see, he positions himself very, very here for a reason. And just like that, he lowers that and he ice shards that, and there you go. So this is a pattern that we're going to see repeated on lane, and that's why I'm making such a big deal out of it, because we see these support players really refusing to let this creep go into the deny, because it is the biggest source of golden experience on the lane. So you don't really don't want the range creep to get denied if you can help it. We're going to see here, because he's going to repeat the same thing. And again, notice the creep here, low HP. Now, the interesting bit here is that Cr1t does a little bit of a combo play, and it's nothing huge, but it's worth biting into because it's cute. He times his aggression around this range creep because he's going to throw an ice shard here, and again, it's going to get Naga, which is now going to be punched in with his own creeps, himself and Furion. So quite a little bit of damage there, and it's a cute play. It's a small thing. Some pros have gone on record to say that Dota is all about, you know, snowballing to a certain extent and making the most out of like everything you can. And again, if you can couple getting that range creep together with aggression, why not? And that really is a pattern we're going to see from Cr1t in this entire game, is that he just does very, very smart moves. Now we are going to speed a bit ahead of here because again, it is a short game. And it's mostly just going to be Riki standing out here with Cr1t. And it's very limited what he can really do, because ideally it would be very nice if he could pull the camp here. Although Naga is Naga, so she is going to push the wave very naturally, and he's well aware of that. He also knows that he can't really very easily get this camp to spawn. First and foremost, he doesn't have a sentry. Riki has put a sentry right here, although we can't see it right now. On top of that, it's really, really hard to stop Riki from body blocking because he's as tanky as he is. Riki's super duper tanky. So it's really, really obnoxious. So even if there was no sentry, the chances of him being able to get a camp going that he could pull is so unlikely. So it's just a bit of fisticuff, which is totally fine. Cr1t doesn't mind because he has a Furion. So that's he is able to basically just mostly solo and be safe against Naga for now. Again, see the aggression here. And we're gonna slow down here a bit, as you can see. So again, creep here, not in deny range, so that's not a worry to Cr1t. But what's interesting here is now it's the opposite. It's not his creep. It's not enemy creep, it's his creep, actually. That's under half HP. And you'll see how, now slowed down, he clearly is starting to pump fake it with his actions here. And Furion does get it. So that's really important. So now he's secured 2 range creeps for his ally and himself, and he's just denied a range creep. That's the kind of stuff that adds up. If you can keep doing that in a lane, even if it looks like you're not accomplishing anything, you are winning the average flow of the game, which is very, very important. And going to go back here a little bit and show I made a video about this, and it bears repeating in this video here as well. Cr1t is in a very, very awesome position here. So notice how he has his flag bearer creep here, and he has his tower here, and he has a whopping 9 regen going for him right now. That's because he's getting tower protection, which is, you know, 3 armor plus 1, and he's getting 3 health regeneration from the flag bearer creep. So Cr1t is actually getting 4 regeneration by standing in this area, and he has been doing that for about, give or take, at least 12 seconds, and for a little bit longer. That's a lot of free regen. Of course, he's getting some from the mangoes, but that's a lot of regen. Clearly, he is making use out of that. It's very, very powerful. Again, timing his aggression around stuff like that. Range creeps and flag bearer creeps. Very, very smart. Let's see here. Slowly. And he's gonna do the same thing again here. As you can see, range creep. You're gonna see him move up here. And again, the reasoning here is, and this is such a clever thing, it really, it's nice to see pros do stuff, this kind of stuff, because you can just tell it's in fighting games you would call this footsies. Like, he's in position because he doesn't want this creep to get denied by Naga again, because that would be annoying. But he would also prefer if Rune can take it, so he puts himself there, so if he needs to ice shard it, he can do that. So there is realistically no way Naga gets that without Cr1t stopping her. This is also a pattern we'll see here from Cr1t, which isn't, you know, very, very surprising. As soon as Naga spawns her illusions, Cr1t is going to deal with it. A little bit of a skirmish, of course. Simple Naga stuff. And Cr1t isn't really going to be in danger because both him and Riki are in big trouble. And it does hurt Naga, but Naga, again, is also super tanky, so ultimately she's not going to die. This is just kind of like a relatively boring lane where the chances that someone is going to die are very, very low, because it really is just mostly... Rune is probably the easiest to kill by far. But even then, Cr1t can stop that real quick if they don't go on him. So it's just one of those lanes, you know. Now, here's another thing. So what I see the most when I see these position 4 or 5 players in pubs is that it often feels like they are not sure what to do, and Dota can be a very overwhelming game. You just need to look at Cr1t and really like absorb what he's doing. So if you're playing 4 like this, you're just looking for things to do, right? Like you need to go down like a checklist of things. Like, can you pull? No. Can you play aggressive? Rel, yeah, but you can't really do anything with it. What can you do? What is the best play that you can do for your team, right? What's the best you can do for your team and for yourself? Because he can't pull, well, he can't pull. Being aggressive against Riki doesn't really do anything because he can't kill him, and Riki can't kill him, so that's just a stalemate. So he places himself up here at Naga's tower and plays as aggressive as possible. So he's trying to maximize how annoying he can be by, look at this, how aggressive he's being. He's trying to gatekeep Naga from being able to last hit under the one place where she should be the safest. Doesn't really threaten a kill on her, but this is super duper annoying for Naga all the same. When 2 heroes are against 1 and you have to right click it, and it's not easy because Rune in particular hurts big time. So Naga is gonna get, Riki's gonna get a pull here, and this one, when I looked at it the first time, it's pretty interesting because Cr1t could stop this with Ice Shard, but he decides not to. So he lets Riki pull here, and what's gonna happen is that they're gonna get these Nagas dealt with here. And he's going to stay in here together with Riki, and Rune is going to come collapse with him. And nothing too big. But it is interesting that he intentionally let Riki pull. So he must have deemed that was simply the best play there, because him and Rune could then take camp in that. A little bit of an engagement, but again, it's very hard for pretty much anyone to die. Although Riki is close, and again, net, that's scary. And that's something Rune definitely has to, in particular, be careful of. When Naga gets 4, she usually has net, so that's where the kill potential can happen, but, you know, nothing too big. And you'll see this again, I mentioned it very briefly. Ice Shard here, he sees the Naga illusions, bam. And immediately, Furion helps him, taking down illusions. And Naga is a hero where she's really only as strong as her illusions. If she doesn't have illusions, she's very, very weak. So they can basically deny most of his laning stage. Again, this isn't just like Cr1t making a smart decision. It's also him having a decent matchup against her as far as laning is concerned. But he's definitely making the most out of it. And there we go again with the range creep. And that's pretty much all for the lane initially. That's it. For the most part, he's now gonna start looking at what he can do, and this is really what is going to be the meat of the game. Like, this was just the foundation. We're about to get into the interesting stuff of what Cr1t does as a player. So here we're actually going to see the first camera pan he does here, and that's important. And we're going to see here he pans to Ember, and that's important because why would he do that? Well, it's about to be 6 minutes. 6 minutes is when those beautiful rune spawns start. Well, you know, not the river runes, but like the actual illusion DD runes, the power runes, I think they actually call it. And he wants to secure that. So he's no doubt checking Ember and finding out, right, does he have bottle? Yes, he has bottle. That's to be expected. But is it full? No, it's not. That makes it even more important for him to secure Rune. So, again, making a plan. He sees that, and he's like, I know what my plan is. He goes up here. Now, his plan might initially have been to take the Rune here. Or at least, like, maybe stand here and gatekeep, and then take this Rune at 6 minutes. I can't say for sure if that's what he was going for, but he sees Riki and he decides, nah, that's not what he's going to do anyway. He's going to plan a ward here instead, though. He's going to have a bit of vision. So maybe he's trying to make Riki in this position where it's like, well, you have to now decide, do you want this Rune or do you want to, like, stand here? So he's going to stand here. Mr. Cr1t. As you can see, it's going to spawn an illusion rune. And he gets a free bottle. So now he's completely full up. And this is something you'll mostly see higher level players do as well. You know, going for the rune protection here. And DotA isn't very black and white. There is no, like, you should always be doing this kind of thing. It really depends. How's your lane going? How's your lane partner faring? What's going on? Rune really didn't need his help. And it was limited what else he could do. Again, as I said before, when he put pressure on Naga up here, could he pull? No. Could he kill Riki? No. He could put as much pressure on Naga as he could, but that was about it. So now suddenly a play arrived where he could either get Rune here from Riki, or he could try and help Ember actually be sure he would get Illusion Rune. And that's probably the most he could do on the map, and it's the play he went for. So he did all these calculations and then went for the play, which is, again, hallmark of a good player. Now, being full, we're going to see him immediately going for Naga here. Again, just aggression. He has the mana now because, you know, he got a bottle charge from Ember. So that is nice. And again, we're just going to see him still lane a little bit. As soon as Naga spits her illusions out, he's going to deal with it. He's going to Ice Shard. Make sure they die and just be as obnoxious as he can. Again, chances of a kill, pretty much zilch, almost impossible, but he can make sure that she doesn't farm very efficiently. And that's what he does for now anyway. And he's going to keep his eye on Riki here, and he's just going to confirm a few things. Because, like, it's also important he knows where the position 5 is walking around, because that will help him make these smart plans of his. And he will see that Riki is consistently just blocking camp here. Now, this might be a bit of a fake. His ward just ran out. He's basically blocking this so he still can't pull. Not that he would want to right now anyway, because the wave is already in his favor, for Rune, that is. So Cr1t doesn't really need to pull right now. But it is worth noting that Riki is being that obtuse about it. Again, very, very hard to kill Riki even with all this stuff. But he's being aggressive. And Naga goes. And this almost goes badly, but again, Cr1t is very, very tanky. Yeah, and he's going to be just fine. And this is basically going to be the inherent almost end of the laning experience from him. Now here we're going to see something very interesting, and this is a very, very big thing, and we saw this with Dubu as well. I did a plan reading on Dubu. These support players do this a lot, so we're going to see him walk back. And here comes the important bit. He's looking around physically on the map to find out what happens. Now, some people do this. You might do this. It's a smart thing. What he is basically doing is, it's a bit like, for lack of a better word, you know, being on a train ride or something and reading a book as you're on the train ride. Like, he is making the most of his transit. He literally is going to walk somewhere, and he can't really make any huge plays, but he can plan ahead for what's potentially could happen. So he's looking around on the map. He's especially checking, like, how's Brood doing? This is Amar, by the way. You know, Amar DF. Just letting you know, because he's called OG Space here. He's checking on Amar, make sure how scary is this Brood. That's important. Especially if you play support, you probably know how hellish Brood can be to play against, so you want to keep yourself track on her. He's keeping track of Ember in particular, because Ember is for sure where the biggest plays can be made around, because that's his mid, and his mid is mostly winning. So we see this a lot when he moves. And again, it's just very, very nice to see Cr1t do that. And again, he's keeping eyes on Ember. And again, as you can see, instead of just heading up top to Naga and Furion, where, you know, it's limited what he can do, he immediately changes his plan. Now, if he was completely mono-focused on just this lane and didn't pay attention to mid at all, then he wouldn't even move here. Let's see, the sound might have disappeared. And as you can see, he goes on Pango, and it leads to a kill. And let me just do this because Ember's bugged a little bit. There we go. Very important kill there. And again, that's it. That's exactly it. The average pub player, not to shoot people down, but it's very common for people to just think, go back to base, go back to lane. Now I'm at lane. Now I can get XP together with Furion. But here we see Cr1t immediately change his plan. As he's walking from base to about here, he looks at Ember. He's like, oh shit, they're fighting under the rune space. And he immediately considers it his best option to head there and try and help, instead of just going back to lane. Some people might not even know that happened if they played. So keeping an observant eye is really, really going to help Cr1t in this game. Now we are going to see he makes the most out of this as well. With Furion coming mid, we're going to see a very, very cheeky play here where he plants a ward here. And this is, I love this, as someone that also loves playing 4. This is one of the most awesome wards you can have, especially because people tend to not actually kill it off too fast. And it gives a lot of information because mid tower is the most important tower in the game. Many agree to that, tier 1 that is. It just gives access to river, it gives access to Roche. It's just, ooh, it's such a good position to keep up for as long as you're capable of. This ward is so good because, first and foremost, if anyone tries to come in and defend this, they are in big trouble because Cr1t is very powerful, and so is everyone else here. It also gives vision over people transitioning from the triangle and into here, and then from back here into triangle, which is probably one of the best gank routes you can find, and we will see that pay dividends later. So we keep going here, and you can see he's waiting. Now he could just go and hit tower, but he waits to see if anyone is dumb enough to try their luck to stop Furion from killing mid. And again, this is the tower you want to stop from not going down too fast. And Ricky does come, and as you can see, he dies off immediately. Doesn't even need anyone. And it's also worth noting that it's currently nighttime. It's a little bit more than a minute until daytime, so people can't see very far. Now Cr1t can see very, very far. Wards are even better during nighttime because of diminished vision ranges in the game. So. And we're gonna see here. And there's going to be quite a bit of transitioning around in this game where Cr1t just walks. This is technically not a very exciting game, I would say, to make a read on, but it's the thinking man's game, this one, I think. It's interesting to see Cr1t do all of these decision makings as a position 4, because it's almost like you can see his brain racking around like rattle, daddle, what should I be doing next? And I really think people can learn so much from just observing and trying to read into why he's doing what he's doing. It's like watching a statistician coming up with a plan in his tent. It's very, very cool. So he does see MR bottom, and this is an important part because this is going to pretty much be like the stage 2 of the play, where we're going to see that Cr1t is going to put a lot of focus on Brood this game, which makes sense. Again, do not want her to get that tier 2 tower for free. And again, he's keeping his eye. Again, now he's mostly panning. So again, when he's not doing anything, when he's in transit, like when he's walking to a destination, he's making sure, where can I be? So he's going to walk here with Lich a little bit. And again, he does have a smoke on his person. This is also worth mentioning. Very smart to make sure that you buy at least 1 smoke so they don't just sit at 3. Also, something you'll usually see high level 4s do is they'll just have 1 just in case, you know. Also, again, so they don't stack up in base. And again, this is what I was talking about. This is that beautiful ward I mentioned that shows people going from triangle and up here. And sure enough, we now have a Pango with half health. Now, technically, if Pango had a ward here or here, surely he would immediately run to the right and just divert out of the way here, but he doesn't. So he now has a chance here. But here we'll actually see a bit of a misplay. He snowballs in on Pango and he misses Ice Shard. And this is so sad, you know, and again, it just goes to testament. This happens to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're low skilled, high skilled, mid skilled, pro. We all make mistakes and it's a big one, but it happens to the best of us. It's what's for dinner sometimes. So that's kind of sad. So no kill on Pango there. Now what we are going to see here is a bit of a turnaround. And this comes in the form of Cr1t having very high magic wand. And he does this quite a lot in his games where it's as if he feigns defeat. He is like, ah, you got me, and then he does a turnaround. So he'll like walk back here, and he'll wait just... He could have already sticked here, but he waits until Ricky jumps him, and bam, he pops ward, here comes Lich. And here comes the Uno reverse card. And again, he doesn't just settle for Ricky here either. He could have done Ice Shard here. He goes for Clockwork, because he wants more than just one, and sure enough, here comes Ember, here comes Tusk, Snowball, and just like that. And this is exactly why you want to observe these high-level players, really, especially like Cr1t as a 4. There were so many small plays there, and you could say to yourself, it's just he just did things on his own. No. At this level, you don't just do things like just, you know, rudimentary. Like, that was all planned out. He waited until Ricky jumped him. He very much wanted to wait last second to do the stick play. And had he done it earlier, had he done it while he was in the smoke cloud, both of them would have just left and realized they couldn't have killed him. But he waited until they thought they would kill him and get away, and they then couldn't, and then it was too late. Very smart. Again, thinking ahead, it really is the name of the game for Cr1t here. He really seems to just have plans upon plans. Like, if he's playing chess against you, I guarantee you this guy's thinking at least 5 steps ahead. I actually don't know what the most common, like how many steps ahead, like Magnus Carlsen thinks, but Cr1t thinks pretty far ahead. That much is obvious. So now we're going to see that he transitions to bot. And again, he looks everywhere again, and this is important, and this is not exactly uncommon for any skill bracket to have someone come and deal with Brood. The good part of this is Brood is not really in an easy position to kill Cr1t, and he knows this. And that actually brings up a bit of leeway for Cr1t, because, hey, if you can get some farm as 4, it's very, very nice. You can see he has queued up a Blink Dagger. Now, this is also important because we're going to see another decision being made from Cr1t here, in that he's going to change from Cr1t to Mech to Guardian Greaves. And that's no doubt because of the situation he finds himself in. Again, a lot of players can just follow a guide and just not really think on too much what to do. But here we have Cr1t probably thinking, okay, the better part of this game is probably going to be spent with me trying to stop Brood from being obnoxious, Amar from taking the tier 2. So the best thing I can probably do is just tank up, get Guardian Greaves from me and my team. Because he's not going to be running around with a Blink Dagger and ganking, because how is he going to do that if he also has to defend the tier 2? And the answer is he's not. So instead of just building Blink Dagger, he builds defensively. It's small stuff like that. Again, it was sound. I have to remember it's a beta game, right? Replays are still kind of buggy. Small thing here, but we'll see Amar come in with his Spider Army. And we'll see Cr1t immediately go for that, which is really, really good, because look how much damage it does. But mostly because they get Spiderlings. He does run back. And it also diminishes Brood's ability to hurt the tower. And we're basically just going to see Cr1t spend a lot of his time down here now, which makes complete sense, really. Just wants to stop Brood, Amar, from being too much of a hassle for him on lane. And that's going to be most of this. He's just going to standardly, we're actually going to speed up a little bit. He's just going to sit up here. But again, much like, now he's last hitting, which isn't exactly hard, and he's not under duress per se, because Amar can't kill him. So he's not having to look at himself all the time. So while he is last hitting, you do see him briefly pan his camera around on his teammates and find out what's going on. Where can I be helping? Or like, how is things going? He's drawing up a battle plan. He's seizing the moment. He's trying to get a read. Is it bad that I'm down here? Because At the end of the day, if a team fight breaks out here and he realizes he needs to be there, he probably is willing to sacrifice his tier 2. But again, there's no reason for him to leave here if he doesn't need to. We really, again and again and again, just see him do these plays that are just smart because he's just thinking, what is the most he can do with what he has? Here comes a bit of an important thing. He's going to try and get vision up here, as you can see. So he uses the vision of ice shards and then sentry. He's basically just trying to set up a potential kill zone for Amar, where Amar can't be safe, because if he does have vision over Amar, then it becomes a lot harder for him to deal with Tusk. Again, very annoying. He's not, again, in danger. It's very, very hard to kill Tusk already. And again, he just keeps himself there. It's a little bit scary for South Pool now. But again, safe under tower. Very, very tanky. And again, here we see it again. He's here. He can't really do anything. He pans around, finds out what's happening. And again, some people do just pan around their camera on the map to find out what's happening and, like, you know, just in order to, like, you know, look at things happening. I guarantee you he is really trying to understand as much as possible. For example, he just saw Pango ult, right? So now he knows that there's no chance Pango's down here for one thing, and Pango can't ult in on him, because that could have been a possible play. You know, Pango could have ported here and then smoked and then walked all the way down here and then together with Brood rolled onto him with a Pango ultimate and then killed him. And that would have been bad because then they could get tier 2. But now he knows by having looked here that that's simply not an option anymore, because even if Pango dies now, or, you know, whatever happens, he won't have ult because it's not going to be on cooldown. So there's all these small things. And we see this really a lot with these 4-5 players and a lot. Like, they're just doing so many calculations, and it's awesome. Beautiful kill there on the Spirelings as well. Making sure Amar can't get a army up means he really is not going to be in any trouble from him at all. Again, it's mostly just going to be down here. We're going to spin a little bit of head. We are gonna have a fight break out here. And as you can see, he is again building towards that Grief now, like I said he would. No longer is he going for Blink Dagger. Again, there really is no point in building a Blink if he's not going to be blinking around and getting kills. So, very, very smart playing around what he needs to do in order to get the biggest chance of winning the game. Now, we are gonna have a fight break out here, and that's actually very favorable because, again, Cr1t would probably love to be part of fights and do things, but ultimately, where is he best served? Is it here? No, they clearly don't need him to get kills. They're already taking care of that. So he can safely sit down here, get farm, and protect his tier 2. It's like the dream, right? Like, he doesn't have to move as a 4, and things work his way. Now, the beautiful part here is that the enemy actually comes to him. And if they're right next door, then, you know, why not show up? And that is, of course, exactly what's going to happen. As you can see, keeping Amar away. And again, there is a fight here. Very, very risky from the enemy to go in here. But as you can see, he's going to come in and help his team. And that is an angry, angry, angry Clockwork from that. But no kill on Brood there. So again, as you can see, it's not because he just wants to AFK farm or anything. It's because he values that as the best decision. So the moment another better play comes available, he goes and takes it. And I respect this kind of thing a lot because it's just very smart. Smart Dota is beautiful Dota to me. Smoke up, again, very, very important to mention that because the lane is pushed now. Notice how he has not used his TP, which means if Brood, Amar starts knocking on the tower, he's capable of coming. But he makes the most out of that one team fight, and instead of just, you know, splitting up and farming, or just like, you know, pushing this out, or like just farming here, they all smoke up so they can get another play. And sure enough, it is going to lead to a certain angry little tin can boy here dying again, which is really, really particularly good because Slarg is getting more and more not stick charges, just regular Essence Shift charges. And again, what happened? They got a kill immediately. What does Cr1t do? He immediately walks bottom. He doesn't port there, he walks there. He knows that that is the biggest annoying threat on the map right now, is basically that bottom, because if there's anything that can make the game more difficult, it is Amar if he spins out of control from there. So he's going to make sure that that doesn't happen. And here comes the first kind of blunder. And I can't really blame Cr1t. It's what happens. What he hadn't seen here was Amar getting an Orchid. And it is going to basically kill him. And he's been very, very thorough with his thought process this game. Again, Amar can be a bit of a dick. He's been very, very observant. He's been very, very thorough with the way he's been observing his opponent. And this is the first time where he did not see Amar having an item that can now kill him. But now he knows. And we're going to see him change up his playstyle. So a lot of people, when they die to something like that, will just shrug it off and be like, oh, well, it happens. It's a brute. It's annoying. He, no doubt, is like, okay, brute has an Orchid. Be careful. That means until I have Guardian Greaves, I could be in trouble. So he's definitely going to play quite a bit more reluctant than before, comparatively. Spinning a bit ahead here. And again, like I said, notice how he walks there. He could TP out here, but he doesn't. Cr1t walks a lot because, again, let's think about this. And I really got to put a pin in it here and talk about pub Dota. A lot of people, it's just automatic. They don't really think when this happens. And this is not really just for Cr1t. This is like for, you know, the average pub player as well. They respawn, then they port here or here or here. They just have to port out as far as they can and then move somewhere. But what does that give you, right? If you port here, what is the goal of that? Are you going to go here and help these guys? Okay. Well, do they need help? Not particularly. So, you know, it's kind of like a waste of your TP for one thing. If you port here, the only thing you can really accomplish is farming here or here, right? Like, these guys are all the way up here, so you can't possibly make it here because you don't have the shrine here. You can port here, but that could put you in a very bad position if Brute kills you, or like goes on you, because then you can't TP out. The one play he has that Brute can't deal with right now is him TPing to safety. So what does our boy do? Well, he keeps sticking to the place that needs defending the most, and he makes sure he has a backdoor. This is the kind of thinking that makes you high level. Very, very, very smart. And again, it's easy as an observer to just say, he's not thinking about all of that. He is thinking about all of that. This is what separates the men from the boys, pretty much. So what we are going to see Amar do here is, I don't know if this is based on tilt. Amar can do these kind of things. I don't know if the intention is to try and kill Cr1t or take the tower, but he's going to go aggressive here. And that's going to be his last mistake, because against Tusk, that's very, very scary. And you can see how everyone comes in here. Again, Brute very obnoxious to kill, but they are going to make it work. And that's very, very nice for Cr1t, because that's a lot of leeway he needed. And the important bit here is that Brute, or Amar if you will, is very high level. He's actually the highest level on his team by 2 levels, which means when he dies, he's dead for a very long time. This is especially important when you play position 4 like Cr1t here, because with him being dead for 40 seconds, that's 40 seconds of Brute, one of the most obnoxious pusher characters in the game, where she's not playing the field unless he buys back, of course, and that's a reward in of itself for you. So now he basically has about 40 seconds where he can do whatever. He doesn't need to defend the tower right now, so he's not down there. Like, he doesn't need to defend that at all, you know? Ember has that taken care of. He's not even just defending, he's actually pushing it out. So again, we see always thinking ahead, always making plays. It's just, oof. Chef's kiss. It's just, ooh, I love seeing this. This is very, very smart. He's just trying to find things now. And he's within screen length of Slark. He knows he has acronyms. So, you know, he really is just trying to set things up. Very, very nice. And we see, again, his camera panning around. You see Ember being gone on. He immediately heads down there. And we are going to have a bit of a fight break out as a result of it. Very scary. He does know that Brute has vision over him. Again, he has mech, he has TP. He is very, very damn tanky. And we can see he's Slark there, so he doesn't mind that. He kills these, and again, we're going to see Amar go for him here. Which again is very aggressive considering that there's a Slark. And again, dude is very, very tanky. And Amar is going to pay the price here. As we can see. Lich is going to die. But this is a very happy Tusk right now from Cr1t. And again, keeping himself here. Amar is very, very angry and aggressive. As you can see, participates in the fight. Almost dies. I can't really easily see Ricky there. And that's gonna bring both Naga and Clockwork out of the game, sadly. The fight. So that was 3 people for no one. Now, let's quickly talk about what happened there. So, Cr1t baits Amar to go for him, which lands Slark coming in and killing him. Then he stays in the fight and doesn't run back. And I feel like that's important because he's pushing it. And we see him, we saw him do that up here, where he is making the most out of his stick in order to bait people. And he did it again. Again, Ricky only died because he tried to kill him off by staying in there. And Pango also came because he wanted to like try and get kills. He also died. A lot of people in this situation will be like, oh shit, I am low HP. I am going to port home or just run home. If he does that, none of this occurs. They get Amar still, but they don't get this many kills comparatively. And it's important. Again, it is so nice to see these many calculations and these many plays coming out from Cr1t. He is not afraid of dying if it means it's worth it for him. It's very, very nice. And again, it shows in his score, 318. Considering that this guy has spent the better half of the game almost just sitting at tier 2 defending it from a brood, this is an extremely good score. It's more, he has more done than Furion has, and Furion can just spam ult when he wants. Again, look at it. It's beautiful. So he basically, with pinpoint precision, is just finding these times where he can really do the best, and you know, then he goes for it. It's really nice. It's so wonderful to see. And now the game is going to be in a bit of a weird state because mostly we're just going to see them walk around and be superior. Again, Amar is no doubt really, really tilted now. Kill a Naga Lucian. And he's going to come in here and assist for a kill. And little Pango is going to have a hard time here. But Ricky, of course, being annoying. He did try to go in for the kill attempt. And again, have to remember, there's a certain someone knocking down here. Again, does Cr1t have a TP available to him? Yes, he has 2 in fact. Has he procured any of those? Well, he has them ready all the same. And you can see he's panning down, and Ember goes down there, and now he knows he doesn't need to deal with it. And again, it just shows, man. He is just on top of things, this guy. It's very, very refreshing. He looks at Furion, who's pushing top. He knows that's being taken care of. He would no doubt have ported down here himself, but then saw Ember do it. So that was taken care of. And now he can stay on the field. And that's kind of what he wants to do as well. He wants to stay in this midsection of the map, pretty much, like enemy triangle, enemy jungle. Because him and Lich are scary as hell when they do that. And sure enough, we see Pango come up here, trying to defend a Furion, which isn't really going to work. And there you have it. Just like that. So the enemy is really in complete disarray now, because it's hard for them to pretty much do anything or be anywhere, because they're just completely, you know. And again, moves down. Sees Brood. Sure enough, Amar gets what's coming to him, and then he dies. Poor Amar. And again, this is the TP thing I was talking about. He really keeps it for when he needs it. He doesn't just blindly TP around. Because what can often happen, and again, this isn't just like if you play 4 or 5 either. It's very important to think about this TP usage you have in a game, because if you just use your TP at all times, yes, you're moving fast around on the map, and that's really good if you need to flash farm, but it does put you in that distinct disadvantage where you can't really do anything if something happens close to your towers. You can't assist your team, you can't get maybe important kills. You just really have to think these things through. It is just something that, like, you know, you have to, as a player, have the foresight and have the experience to find out, should I TP or not? You shouldn't just make it automatic that you should always TP no matter what. It's not a good habit at all. As you can see here, he spots Pango, and as you can see, he ported down here, killed off Amar with his team, walked back up here. Again, like I said, the area of play he wants to be at is enemy jungle. Well, enemy triangle is also jungle, but enemy triangle, enemy jungle, and now up here. He just wants to basically close out the game in a sense of, like, if the enemy really ever does anything, then this just kind of happens over and over again. And again, when people start BM pausing each other on the same team, it's pretty obvious everyone is angry and mad. So, you know, by all accounts, this game is more than less likely, rather, pretty much just over at this point. So, and again, we can pretty much speed through most of this here because we're basically just gonna see Cr1t kind of keep doing the same here for the rest of the game. He's going to manifest his lead. He does do a cute play here where he goes here, and you can see he is, again, you can't really hear microphones on replays, but he might doing a microphone, he might be doing some kind of like telling them, but he clearly is like, right, let's take Roche, we are ahead. Enemy isn't gonna stop us, and sure enough, they will not stop them. And hey, when you're ahead, why not? 12k ahead, if they're not gonna stop Roche. Amar is not pushing right now, so that's not a threat either, so Roche is free. As you can see, Amar is up here. And there you go. If the game wasn't over before, then it's looking a lot more over now. Again, walking. Here we go again. That's like the name of, like, this is a walking simulator. But not a bad, this is not a bad walking simulator. This is a good walking simulator by Cr1t. He constantly is walking places to do plays there. He walks bottom here. Finds Pango, does kill him. Again, Naga's there, no problem. They're so far ahead. And that's really it. He still has his TP. He is just ready with that TP when he needs. And the only tower he's lost in this game to boot is his tier 1 tower, and that's to a Brood. He hasn't even lost his mid, and he has not lost his tier 2 either, because he was the one defending it. Safe to say that if Cr1t hadn't put that much emphasis on that tier 2 tower, this would have gone down. And their jungle would have been a lot more inhospitable because of Brood. So, really, really laying the foundations of the game here. And it shows in his score as well. Almost no deaths. The one death he does have was literally an Orchid he had not seen coming. Again, walking around with his team. And they are going to get pretty much a final kill here. I mean, they're going to get more kills, but this one is pretty much the one that nips it in the bud. Here. They're going to get that. They see MR. Well, the kill comes later. Like, it's really, really hard to kill MR, but like, they see him, but killing him is really, really difficult because it's a Brood, of course. So we see him here. So I say they're gonna kill, but like, nah, it's a Brood. It's just BKB and just run away. But this still pretty much nips the game in the bud, because if Amar can't really do anything around on the map, there's nothing that can really be done. And it's pretty obvious that most of their team, or half the team at least, is just completely in shatters. They're mad at Pango, you know. Amar can't really do anything. Ricky's trying to snipe careers, but ultimately, if he just pushes with his team, he's pretty much good to go. So he basically is just gonna play the rest of the game out, and we're gonna pretty much speed through, as you can see. He doesn't care. Again, the whole bait thing, he does have Guardian Griefs. Small thing, lets Amar go on him for as long as possible, wastes his time, then turns around and does that. Is it gonna lead into a kill? No, not really. On here. But here, we are gonna see him die. And again, the game was already over pretty much. And you can see Amar not really caring either. So. And there you pretty much have it. Baitmaster and non-TPer pretty much. We can just basically speed through most of this now because the enemy has pretty much given up. They're gonna feed themselves a little bit, but this is just standard pop fanfare. They're pretty much just gonna, you know, run in, die, and then they're gonna finish off. And really, again, a very short game, but like I said from the start of it, a lot of good things happening from Cr1t. Just very, very clever play. I really can't recommend, not just this replay per se, which you can find in the description, of course, if you want to see it for yourself. But just observing these position 4 players and 5 players, their movement, their decision making, like, player view is such a powerful tool for this kind of stuff, because you get to see where they pan their camera. You get to see where they're looking and like what is going through their head if you kind of know where to look. And it really is just so smart seeing how Cr1t is just playing the field. Like, basically, I guess this is what you would say, I would normally call this a macro game. His macro game is phenomenal. He just plays the map extremely well, makes so many good decisions, and he only dies one time, and he completely pretty much shuts down Amar's ability. Like, if anyone was going to make this game winnable, it probably was going to end up being Amar, and a position 4 Tusk just being relentlessly defending a tower was just enough to completely shut down the Brood. on top of like being part of kills whenever he was available at it. So a very dominating performance by Cr1t, and again, can't recommend watching high-level Force like him enough. It's just, there's so much information to be gathered. But let's head into the post-replay review and find out a few extra things that was worth biting into. While a very short game, there was still a lot of information to be extracted from Cr1t's performance, so let's briefly go over a few things that were really worth mentioning. A common thing you'll see with higher level support players, Cr1t makes it his utmost importance to kill off the enemy range creep so it isn't denied almost as often as possible. Losing out on the XP can be a tremendous loss for him and his lane partner, and using the power of Tusk ice shards, he really made the most out of this in the game. At about 6 minutes into the game with the first rune spawn and forward, Cr1t really goes out of his way to scan around the entire map and making plans. Between seizing up the game, finding out where the best location for him to be present on the map is, it's very evident that he's drawing up a battle plan for himself and figuring out the best course of action. This kind of planning on the run is so important for the well-being of your gameplay. As important as it is to TP in order to be efficiently around on the map, Cr1t held his TP for the vast majority of the game, but for very important reasons. By keeping his TP open, he always was able to respond to Brood, or one of his allies being in trouble, given that they were relatively close to a tower. Thinking ahead like this is the mark of a really experienced player. Plus, it proves to the enemy in the match that if they do make a move, Cr1t is very likely to show up. If you'd like to see the match for yourself, I provided a replay ID within the description of the video. And as always, if you like what you saw, please consider subscribing for more. You can also catch me live at twitch.tv/FabKubashi. Have a splendid day, and here's hoping for future success in your pop battles.